Welcome to another episode of Stand on Guard. When I come back, we're going to be discussing something that you all want to see. How Canada is spending your tax dollars in the black hole of Kyiv. When we come back.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Thanks for watching, and like Sasha the Cat always said, please subscribe if you haven't already, resubscribe if you need to, like the station, give it a thumbs up. Let's beat the YouTube algorithm and Trudeau censorship. You know, we have accumulated hundreds of subscribers in the last 3 days after I appealed because we had lost so many overnight. People were being unsubscribed, unsubscribed. And for no reason. I complained about it officially through official channels. But I appealed to you, my viewers, my audience, and said, please do something about it. And you did. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to be talking about the black hole of Kyiv today. And you're saying, okay, what is the black hole of Kyiv? Well, the black hole of Kyiv is the money we're pouring into Ukraine. Billions of dollars. And this is just Canada we're talking about today. We could be talking about the US, which is spending the lion's share of the money that's going to Ukraine to keep this war going, keep Ukrainians dying, keep the military-industrial complex rich and prosperous, and making hundreds of billions of dollars off this war, off the deaths. And they've done this for, my God, over 100 years. We know that. These merchants of death continue to do this. And I'm an ex-military guy, but I don't like to see people die needlessly. I don't like to see wars that aren't necessary. I don't like to see people go to war and die because alternatives were not examined. And they haven't been, and they aren't being in the case of Ukraine. This is just a fundamental failure, not of diplomacy, but of common sense. We've got people constantly saying we're fighting for democracy. Ukraine is not a democracy. They just canceled their presidential election. It's run by a bunch of corrupt politicians and oligarchs. And you know, the last installment the United States sent them included $9 billion of immediate cash infusion. It's gone. The corrupt politicians have already deposited in their Swiss bank accounts. I'm not making that up. Former UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter has got his ear to the ground in Ukraine, and he is reporting that this week. So without further ado, I want you to watch a video to start this, and this will show you what they're up to in Ukraine, just what they're up to in terms of, I hate to use the words because Justin Trudeau has completely warped their meaning, but the misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda that Ukraine is putting out about, and you'll see this, about the American election, the presidential election. Let's have a look.
My name is Olesya, and I'm a former employee of the so-called Troll Fabric in Kyiv, Ukraine. We also had French, German, and Italian departments. I actually heard some other offices in Kyiv were hiring people who spoke Finnish and also Swedish and Estonian. About a half year ago, our main chef in command, Andrei Borisovich Yermak, paid us a visit. I'm pretty sure you have heard of the head of President Zelensky office. Really, it was an unusual event for the main figure behind our project to come visit the office. So he came with some English-speaking officials who were introduced to us as the American partners. We were told that they were very important guests, but no further details. Some of my colleagues told me that they were probably CIA, the American mindset, and main social and politics issues. Then we were occupied with the topics for the job, which sounded like this. unlike Trump, Biden is a smart and experienced politician. Unlike Trump, Biden will never betray NATO partners. Trump will alienate our partners. Also, Biden will not abandon Ukraine, and Biden will protect democracy while Trump is Putin's puppet. I honestly tried to convince myself it's okay, since Biden is a clearly better option for Ukraine. But, it was too much for me. Some of my colleagues felt really nervous too. One thing is to work for the best interests of my country, but interfering in US politics is a whole other thing.
But now it looks like
We'll get to that second section later, and I can't wait to show you that. That's an episode of Redacted where I guest appear every week. But Clayton Morris is talking about something that's going to be of very much interest to you. Now, we're going to go through a lot of slides here. I'm not going to read them verbatim, but we're going to go through these. And I should probably remove myself here. But this, and we actually asked you, the audience, did you want to go through exactly how your money's being spent in Ukraine? And you said you did. Very few people said no.
My name is
$1 billion to Ukraine last week, and yet Zelensky now is working on this 10-year blank check, basically. So here is what he said on his Telegram, quote, "Today, our teams of Ukraine and the United States are working on a bilateral agreement on security," he said. We are working to commit to paper concrete levels of support for this year and for the next 10 years. It will include military, financial, political support, as well as what concerns joint production of weapons. But here's the part that really jumped out at me. He says, "Our goal is to make this agreement the strongest of all. We are discussing the specific foundations of our security and cooperation." Foundations of our security and cooperation. To me, that sounds like, I mean, when you say foundations, you're building something strong, right? You're building something that's going to last a long time, right? You're pouring concrete. You're building trenches. You're building something long. And I think Congressman Tim Burchett basically agrees. He says, when Zelensky says specific foundations, he's talking about your tax dollars. It doesn't matter how long he drags this war out if Ukraine gets rebuilt with American money.
I mean, is Ukraine the next Hawaii? The next state of the United States?
It's sanity. Biden's foolish actions could ensure war with Russia sooner rather than later. Trump's reckless and uninformed support for this new bill could convince Moscow that peace is impossible, regardless of whom Americans elect without a Russian advance to NATO's eastern border. So 10 years, this could push Russia closer. Now, if do you think Russia's going to sit back and allow this to happen? Anyway, so I want to circle back to Politico's reporting on this. You remember this a few weeks ago? This, I think, is part of this. So Trump proofing weapons for Ukraine. Allies consider moving arms groups into NATO. So this is an important story that Politico had, and it was an exclusive at the time, right? Which is this idea that we are going to put 10 years worth of monies available and weapons and aid and everything ready for Ukraine that would be Trump proof. That if Trump wanted to vote against this or stop it, that we would now have a mechanism in place to continue funneling money nonstop and weapons. So if Trump gets there and he decides he wants to end it, then we've got a thing in place already. And I think this is a lot of what things Zelensky was talking about.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about. So what Clayton and Natalie are saying here is that this could be another Afghanistan, that they want to keep this war going for 10 years longer. And they want to keep the war going even if Donald Trump becomes president. But the problem here, of course, is that the $61 billion that the United States just gave to Ukraine as part of a over $90 billion military assistance package to Ukraine, I was going to say China, to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. That $61 billion was approved by Donald Trump. I don't mean he had anything to do with the actual legislative approval, but he endorsed it. He endorsed this $61 billion giveaway, this incredible cave, and this collapse of will. And the United States House Speaker Mike Johnson felt like he could do this because Donald Trump said so. Donald Trump really, really kicked his base in the face, as I said in the Substack article, by doing this. And so why do they even need to so-called Trump-proof further contributions, further aid, further assistance to Ukraine? Since Donald Trump is apparently on side now, he sees Ukraine as a vital security interest of the United States and of NATO. He has crossed that River Rubicon. He's crossed that border, and now he's on side with it. So how long is this war going to go on? Who's going to stop it? It's more evidence of the uniparty in the United States. And here in Canada, I'm sorry, whether you want to admit it or not, as far as foreign policy goes, we're a uniparty in Canada. The Liberals, the NDP, and the Conservative Party of Canada are all walking in lockstep on Ukraine. Poor Ukraine. We're there to defend democracy. We're there to make the world safe for democracy. We're there because they were invaded by Russia. We're there because this had nothing to do with a war that really started in 2014. This has nothing to do with how corrupt their Ukrainian regime is. This has everything to do somehow with this wonderful democratic figure named President Volodymyr Zelensky, who people have compared erroneously and ridiculously to Winston Churchill, and that this war is somehow a noble cause, a noble effort. Even though, and we've had idiots from Boris Johnson to American foreign policy advisors say that this is a great war, it's a great investment because the armaments industry is getting all the money in the United States, and it means good jobs, and because the people dying are Ukrainians, so what the hell? Nobody ever mentions, or these people never mention, that we are 2 steps away from a nuclear war where it's going to be a lot more than Russians and Ukrainians dying in this war. It's going to be NATO countries, which means Canada and the United States and Great Britain. And the club is so big now. It's a club of fools. It's such a broad-based club. Everybody in Europe is now basically a member of NATO. So the potential for conflict just escalates every time we add another member state to that organization. I used to support NATO, used to work for NATO, used to represent NATO, used to write talking points for NATO. It's an organization with a great history, but no future. It has no valid military objective anymore. It has no reason to exist anymore. It is way past its due date and should be disbanded before it causes a nuclear war with Russia. Thank you for watching today, folks. I hope that was worthwhile. And let me know if you want to see the American statistics. It's a bit of a deep dive. It's a bit of a process, to put it mildly, but I'm willing to do it. Thank you so much for watching today, and I appreciate everything you've done to support this station in the last year and a bit and in the last week. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the Krayden'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the Krayden resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the Krayden'S Right resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.